The night is waning, but I am committed to getting through this narrative before I am overwhelmed by the arms of slumber. I was born and raised in Jamaica under British colonial rule, which shaped and tried to define my identity, to erase pride in my heritage, and conditioned me to reject my African roots. For many years, I refused to accept who I truly was. Inebriated by the teachings that blackness was a curse, that salvation could only be found in a white God, and that the richness of my ancestry was something to be ashamed of. My grandmother, for example, encouraged me to choose a light-skinned woman so that my children wouldn't be too black. My sister turned to skin bleaching, seeking acceptance in a society that diminished her natural beauty. But I later saw these experiences not as personal failures, but as reflections of a colonial legacy, one that instilled shame, self-doubt, and division among generations. This personal journey opened my eyes to the broader narrative of Africa, a continent whose identity and potential were systematically undermined. The doctrine of discovery legitimized European conquest of African lands, justifying centuries of exploitation and oppression. Colonial powers looted Africans' resources, gold, diamonds, rubber, and human labor, building their empires while leaving the continent impoverished. I always shudder when I think of King Leopold of Belgium and the atrocities he committed in the Congo, where millions of people were murdered and perished under forced labor for the extraction of wealth. Racism and religion worked together to perpetuate control, teaching Africans that they were inferior and disconnected from divinity. Yet there has always been some resistance by the African people. And I think of someone like Patrice Lumumba, who stood boldly for the Congo's independence, refusing to accept neocolonial domination, paying the price, the ultimate price for his defiance with his life. He was assassinated. I think of people like Kwame Nkrumah, who envisioned a united Africa. He worked tirelessly to foster solidarity and economic strength through the Organization of African Unity. And I think of somebody like Haile Selassie, Ethiopia's emperor. He resisted imperial aggression and symbolized resilience and sovereignty. And in more recent times, people like PLO Lumumba continued this legacy today, calling for ethical leadership, self-reliance, and the rejection of systems designed to exploit Africa. But while Africa's story highlights the depths of oppression, it also serves as a mirror for global injustices across the world. Across the world, people have faced oppression based on their race, ethnicity, religion, gender, and their economic status. From the caste systems in Southeast Asia to the systemic racism in the Americas, the fight for justice and equality transcends borders and cultures. The scars left by colonialism, exploitation, and oppression are not unique to Africa. They are universal. This fight is not a violence or vengeance, but a transformation. It is a relentless pursuit of justice, fairness, and equity for all humanity. We must recognize that the resources of this earth, the gold, the water, the labor, and everything, must serve the collective good of humanity, not to be hoarded by a privileged few. Across continents, the gap between the powerful and the powerless continues to widen, with the many suffering while the few amasses unimaginable wealth, as we're seeing happening in North America right now. This system is unsustainable and fundamentally unjust. As a global community, we must dismantle the structures that perpetuate exploitation. It begins with solidarity, not based on race, ethnicity, or nationality, but on a shared humanity. Every tribe, every people, every culture is part of the vibrant tapestry of this planet. To embrace justice, we must reject division, greed, and systems that prioritize profit over people. Leaders must rise who champion fairness, sustainability, and the well-being of all, not the enrichment of a selected few. Education is key to fostering this transformation. By teaching the truth about history, the interconnectedness of humanity, and the value of every individual, we can empower future generations to rise above prejudices and division. Economic systems must shift from exploitation to cooperation, ensuring that resources are shared equitably. Environmental stewardship must replace reckless consumption, prioritizing the health of our planet for everyone. In this vision, Africa's story is not isolated. It is part of a global narrative of resilience and resistance. The injustices that shaped my childhood and my understanding of the world are reflections of the broader struggle faced by people everywhere. Together, we must walk the path of justice and equality, embracing the potential of humanity to create a future where every individual is valued, every voice is heard, every resource is shared. And as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once exhorted, injustice everywhere is a threat to justice. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We're caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects everyone. His words remind us that the fight for justice is not confined to one people or one place. It is a universal struggle that binds us all. And as Selassie once declared in his historic address to the League of Nations in 1936, it is us today, it will be you tomorrow. His warning was a call to action, urging the world to recognize that the suffering of one nation is a harbinger of suffering for all. Selassie's plea for justice and unity resonates as powerful today as it did then. I'm not a perfect person. I often fail to uphold my own ideals and principles. But I will never accept my failures as a permanent defeat. Instead, I will rise again and again, committed by this vision of justice, fairness, and equality, not just for Africa, but for every person, every nation, every culture scattered across this earth. This is our shared story, and together we can shape a brighter, more equitable future for all. And before I close, I must admonish my fellow Jamaicans to resist bauxite mining in the cockpit country. And I know I'm going to be sounding like a broken record. This region of